How corrupt is Canada? By Trap University.
Now, technically speaking, accidentally honoring a Nazi in government is not corrupt, it's just stupid.
Has there ever been a greater diplomatic embarrassment in the history of our country? I mean, literally.
Против России сражался Гитлер и его приспешники, то он идиот.
The president of Ukraine was here. He was visiting. The former SS soldier that was being honored by the Canadian Parliament actually fought against Zelensky's grandfather in World War II.
What the fuck?
Anyway, this is pretty embarrassing. I mean, the old guy himself looks as if he can't even believe he's being honored. And he volunteered for the SS. He didn't get recruited or drafted. He saw the SS, the organization, and said, you know what? I want to be a part of that. But of course, Zelensky didn't care. He was only in Canada to ask for some help since he's kind of got a lot more to worry about because of his neighbor. But again, this isn't corrupt. It's just kind of crazy. But personally making your buddy's property worth over $8 billion, that's corrupt. So imagine you own some land in southern Ontario. You own land in something called the Green Belt, but you can't really build on it because it's protected by law from becoming something like a real estate development. It's supposed to just stay green. But what horrible luck because you're a real estate developer. So to get your land out of the Green Belt, you and other landowners can just lobby or illegally bribe the new head of government in Ontario, Doug Ford, whose legendary brother definitely did not smoke crack, he just liked to have a good time.
Do you smoke crack cocaine?
Exactly. Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine.
Seriously, RIP Rob Ford. But some real estate developers lobbied Doug Ford to remove their land from the Green Belt, which put the potential value of that land at over $8 billion. All from lobbying that probably didn't even cost half as much. And this is after Ford promised that he would not do this exact thing during the election. But, I mean, at least he did say he was very, very sorry.
I made a promise to you that I wouldn't touch the Green Belt. I broke that promise. And for that, I'm very, very sorry.
But in 2017, Justin Trudeau became the first prime minister in Canadian history to break the law while he was in office. And this is when Justin decided that it would be okay to accept a private island vacation from a lobbyist, which, as I've stated in several videos, is a person that can legally bribe the government to do what they want. He accepted a private island vacation. I wonder what this was in exchange for. Well, this lobbyist also mysteriously received $50 million from the federal government. But this wasn't just any lobbyist. It was a good friend of Justin Trudeau's father, His Royal Highness Aga Khan IV, a very wealthy and influential man. Good thing Justin inherited some nepotism points from his father. And if you've never heard of Aga Khan, that is the title held by the hereditary leader of a sect of Shia Islam. And he's so influential that he was granted the style of His Highness directly from Queen Elizabeth. And once he passed and his son inherited the position, he was granted the same title by King Charles. It might just sound like I'm yapping about royal titles, but no one outside of the British royal family has been granted the same privilege. But it's not like Trudeau really needed any extra connections. I mean, since the 60s, alright, this is a real statistic. Since the 1960s, there has only been one decade where a Trudeau wasn't a member of federal government. That's 6 decades of one family holding some kind of power in Canada. He was the first baby to be born in the Prime Minister's office since the 19th century, which means that for the past few years, he's been running the country from the same building he was born in while his father was running the country. But speaking of nepotism, Canada has free healthcare, and that's great, but it's even better if the hospital thinks you're important. You see, free healthcare means longer lines.
What the fuck?
And nobody wants to wait for obvious reasons, so in Alberta, a province in Western Canada, the former CEO of Alberta Health Services pretty much said, yeah, VIP patients definitely used to skip the line before I took over, but I personally didn't approve of any of this when it was happening. Like, oh, so it was just happening while you disapproved of it.
То он идиот.
Nigga, stop the cabin.
Alright, this is the largest healthcare system in Canada. Alright, they operate over 1,000 hospitals, and Canada only has 1,087 hospitals. So that means for the average Canadian seeking medical care, it was just a fact of life that rich people skip the line. But I think we can all assume that this happens everywhere anyway. But Canada is within the Commonwealth realm, so obviously King Charles is also the King of Canada. So I want to compare corruption in Canada to other Commonwealth countries, but only countries with over 1 million people, because since the British got very greedy when it came to islands and small countries, there are too many of them with King Charles as the head of state. We'll start with Jamaica. Now, Jamaicans have very little faith in government, and it consistently ranks as having one of the lowest voter turnouts in the world, with less than 40% of registered voters actually bothering showing up because 70% of citizens think the country is corrupt anyway. And to put this into perspective, Afghanistan has a higher voter turnout. Fucking Sudan and Russia have higher voter turnouts during elections. At this point, Jamaicans are pretty much...
But like, Russia has a dictator, so I'm sure it's probably real deal consequences behind like not showing up and shit. So that's a little different. If you don't fucking show up, they'll probably come hunt your ass down, smack, you know what I mean, take you away from your family, all type of fuck shit.
It's used to being taken advantage of, as wealth inequality is also pretty bad on the island. Like certain communities in Jamaica are very wealthy, and the other part of it is, well, the highest murder rate in the world. But surprisingly, wealth inequality is actually worse in the US than it is in Jamaica, with Canada overall being a much more equal country. So yeah, Canada definitely wins this one. And as for New Zealand and Australia, of all the countries that displaced the native population with descendants of poor British people, Canada actually trumps even the United States in historically horrible treatment
She was finna smack some. She got out that bit with a hockey stick, man.
of the indigenous population. So that's definitely going to be a point against Canada. The former Australian Prime Minister's daughter being at Jeffrey Epstein's house in New York is definitely a point against Australia. And honestly, it isn't even fair for me to include New Zealand, because New Zealand is definitely the least corrupt country where people speak English, one of the least corrupt countries on the planet, and seriously, it ranks consistently as one of the best governed countries in the world. I don't even know how that happened. Maybe just being so far away from, well, everyone. Maybe they don't know how to be corrupt. Grenada, we can't. You guys had a communist monarchy at one point. Technically, shout out to History Matters for pointing this out. So Canada and all these countries have a governor general that's appointed by the king or the queen. This person is meant to be the crown's physical representation in the country. So in the 80s, Grenada had a communist revolution, and when they took over, the queen was like, well, I'm still the head of state, right? You guys still gonna sing God Save the Queen? And they were like, yeah, essentially. Because having the Queen of England as part of your new communist government actually does give you a bit of legitimacy. I mean, it was the 80s, so you know, nobody wanted to associate with a communist country, but they would definitely associate with the Queen, so the new communist government just let the Governor General keep his job. So yeah, you guys had a communist government that was ruled by a queen. Only the British could have pulled something like this off, man. They made America. They just known for changing the rules. Now, moving on to Papua New Guinea, which I didn't even know still had the British crown as the head of state. Well, alright, so the list of countries with laws against witchcraft is not something I thought I'd ever have to look for, but they still burn witches here, and apparently there's a real problem with the people conducting these actual witch trials facing any legal consequences.
What? So y'all are still burning witches? How do you know they're witches?
That indirectly murder people. Because they're the ones that identify sorcerers.
But does this mean the average resident is hunting witches? Not necessarily, but it's important to remember that the majority of the country lives in rural communities. So I guess just imagine if most people in the US lived in rural Louisiana. So yeah, as far as the biggest Commonwealth countries, Canada would definitely be the least corrupt after New Zealand, which is a utopia apparently. But Canada just made witchcraft legal in 2018. But in the 21st century, I just think witchcraft laws are pretty crazy. In the US though, there are certain states where things like fortune telling are illegal. Interestingly, Israel considers Canada a security threat because recently 6 members of Canadian government traveled to Israel but were denied entry for safety concerns. Definitely in the Americas, it might have the most transparent government, kind of like how the United States is pretty transparent about the fact that the politicians will just do pretty much whatever they want. But surprisingly, as far as the rest of the world, I can't really put Canada in the top 10 for corruption. I mean, the nepotism in government is pretty clear, kind of like in the United States, but it's kind of like the US's quiet little cousin. Like, you know, your quiet little cousin, he's bad, but for the most part, he's pretty quiet. Which is crazy, because it's probably more affordable to live in New York City than Toronto, Canada. Good job, Canada. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see.
Yeah, that's one thing my partner did tell me that I live in Canada. He said it's high as hell up there. Like, if you think the fucking United States is high and, you know, our prices for rent and shit like that, go up to fucking Toronto, Canada, bro. They're paying some fucking money, man. Hey, another conversation for another day, man. Great video. I didn't talk too much. It was some information I really didn't know about. I just like learning about this shit. So hey, if you didn't like me chatting, hey, some videos, some reactors, some comments, they don't like the comment, like the nigga that's saying something and shit, always pausing and shit. So hey, you just got to sit here and watch something with me, man. So have a great year, 2026, man. Move with purpose, move with love, man. I'm out. Peace.